Hello, everyone. Welcome, fratres and sorors, dear friends. My name is James Bording, and I'm so honored to present the Wednesday Department of Instruction teleconference. Today, we are going to be exploring the mysteries of the rose. So, to begin, I'm going to pull up my notes. So, we are going to be discussing the mysteries of the rose. Our agenda for the day will be first a quiz. Second, we're going to do a short whirlwind history of roses in the world. We'll then take a walking tour of the roses at the Rosicrucian Park. We're then going to do a meditation on the unfoldment of the rose, and then we'll have some time for independent work. So let's begin. Question 1. What is a rose? In the description for this teleconference, I asked if you could bring your study notebook with you, because at the end, I would love to have space for you to reflect on our meditation. If you'd like to write down a reflection on this question, you're more than welcome to do so. If you'd just like to contemplate it, that's fine too. So I pose this question because as Rosicrucians, we should know the answer to it. But the more that I ask this question and probe into it, the more it is a very challenging question. So if you're feeling ambitious, spend 1 minute in your study notebook or your thoughts contemplating what is a rose. Gently finish your thought as we move on to our next quiz question. Quiz question 2. What color is a rose? This rose in a picture here is red, and I'll give you that much. But I invite you to probe deep into this question. And as an aside, all of the photographs, except for 2 of the historic print ones, are pictures of the roses at Rosicrucian Park. So if you're feeling brave, what color is a rose? Gently finish your thought. And we'll move on to our next quiz question. Bet you weren't expecting a quiz. Question 3. How would you describe the scent of a rose to someone who has never smelled a rose? Is it possible? Take 5 seconds and finish your thought. I begin with these questions to get into the mystical aspect of one of our mystical aspects of being mystics is that we take very, very simple questions and make them very complicated. So, if these were challenging, good. If they were easy, I'm impressed. So, keep these in mind as we explore the history of roses. Roses are old, very old, and they come from the first flowering plants, which are evolved around and emerged on the fossil record about 130 million years ago. Rosaceae, the family of roses, dates back to the late Cretaceous, 75 million years ago. Fun fact, dinosaurs were around long before flowers and longer before roses. So this family Rosaceae evolved over time into 90 different genera. These are genuses that are categories of plants, and into over 2,500 different species. These genuses include Rosa, which is the true roses, Malus, the apple family, or the apples, Prunus, which includes cherries, peaches, plums, almonds, and Fragaria, which is the strawberry genus. All of these are technically roses. They are in the rose family. So if you said that the smell of a rose is just like biting into a Granny Smith apple, you are correct. So this is a tricky question. Specifically, the true rose family emerged about 35 million years ago, which is where we have the earliest fossil evidence for it. Generally, roses have little pink flowers with 5 petals. And here we see an image of a Rosa californica, is a California native wild rose that grows here at Rosicrucian Park. This is what a lot of wild roses look like before they began interacting with humans. So I was contemplating this, and the earliest hominids emerged around 4 million years ago. And if roses were around at that time, there could have been the first hominid to smell a rose millions of years ago. The question I have is, were they the first Rosicrucian? You can be the judge of that. Humans have had a love affair with roses for millennia. The first the dedicated human cultivation of roses began in Asia around 5,000 years ago. These were part of imperial breeding and hybridization programs of wild roses, crossing and selecting for beauty and smell and perfume. In Europe and the West, roses were celebrated in the societies of Egypt, ancient Greece, Rome, and Persia, where they were cultivated for beauty, as medicine and perfume. Rose oils were regarded as premier medicine for millennia. All of these different civilizations had their own breeding programs, taking wild roses and selecting and breeding, crossing with neighbors, and creating their own beautiful varietals. In ancient Greece, roses were associated with the goddess Aphrodite, symbolizing love and beauty. And in typical Roman fashion, they took it to the absolute extremes, holding giant public rose festivals where they would rain rose petals upon participants. This festival is called Rosalia, and they still will drop rose petals through the Parthenon. However, Persia was generally regarded as the birthplace of rose cultivation. They were highly selected for their oils, and so Persian roses are generally among some of the most fragrant. We see them frequently depicted in art as well. The brilliant poet Rumi frequently mentions roses in his poetry. And in fact, it's believed that the knights who were returning from the Crusades actually brought Persian roses back to Europe. This is the damask rose. And this introduction of the damask rose ignited Europe in a rose breeding frenzy, which is typical what happens when new genetics are brought to places. Crossing and breeding of these fragrant medicinal roses took off. And what's wild is that we actually have white damask roses that surround Rosicrucian Park. So it's amazing to imagine that these roses that are here might have been carried back to Europe, or were the actual roses that Rumi contemplated at one point. So speaking of Rumi, I would love to share a piece of their work. This is a piece called What Was Said to the Rose. What was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest. What was told to the cypress that made it strong and straight. What was whispered to the jasmine, so it is what it is. Whatever made sugarcane sweet. Whatever was said to the inhabitants of the town of Shigel and Turkestan that makes them so handsome. Whatever lets pomegranate flower blush like a human face, that is being said to me now. I blush. Whatever put eloquence in language, that's happening here. The great warehouse doors open. I fill with gratitude, chewing a piece of sugar cane in love with the one to whom every that belongs. Emerging in the Renaissance, these new crosses and varieties that had come from ancient civilization would ignite flurries of excitement around roses. New yellow roses traveled and spread everywhere when they came as a cross from the Rosa gigantea. These roses and interesting varietals were extremely valuable and were actually used in trade. Apothecaries and alchemists flourished and used roses for their medicinal aspects. The rose at this time also became a symbol of divinity of Mary, referred to as the rose without thorns, or the Rosa Mystica, the mystical rose. I put this here for our newer members. Rosicrucianism emerged in the early 1600s, or revealed itself in the early 1600s. And the name Rosicrucian comes from the cross of Rosa and Cruz, Rosa and Cross. The publication, there were three, in 1614 and 1616, there were three manifestos published. The Fama Fraternitatis Rosae Crucis, the Confessio Fraternitatis, and the Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz. In these manifestos, the rose is symbolic of the individual's spiritual unfoldment and development. Here we see an illustration with the words "dat rosa mel apibus." The rose gives honey to the bee. I invite you all to contemplate that in your sanctums. Emerging after centuries of breeding and crossing, Empress Josephine of France, wife of Napoleon, established a large collection of roses at Chateau Malmaison. These massive gardens brought as many different varietals as possible, roses of every color and shape, creating the first big breeding program. These gardens must have been spectacular because in this climate of rose breeding and rose craze, the introduction of roses that had been bred in China for millennia were introduced. The Rosa chinensis was crossed with ancient European roses. Two traditions combined and hybridized to produce the first hybrid tea rose. Tea because they were from China and smelled a little bit like tea. The first one was La France in 1867. And the world of roses can be divided into the world before and the world after the hybrid tea era. With these new hybrid tea roses, everything changed because with these deep old genetics, flowers that would bloom would rebloom all summer. One of the unique aspects of the Chinese roses is that they wouldn't bloom just once. And so imagine the excitement of suddenly having roses that would bloom and bloom and bloom all summer long. This hybridization created a massive program with numerous classes, including hybrid teas, floribundas, grandifolias, which are all different descriptions of these roses. We moved into the modern era of advanced techniques of cultivation and breeding. And today, there are thousands of different hybrids with no sign of slowing down, with modern gene sequencing and modern science driving new disease-resistant varieties with more beautiful traits. The future is very interesting because they've already genetically modified roses in blue. So who knows what the future holds for roses, but it has been a millennial-long relationship with humans, going from simple little pink flowers to these massive, beautiful hybrid teas that we grow all over the world today. So, with that little background in the history of roses in the world, what I would like to do is a meditation in 3 parts. The first part is I would love to take you on a walking meditation of the rose garden here at Rosicrucian Park. After we finish walking together, I would like to take some time and visualize our own unfoldment and blooming as roses. From there, I would invite each and every one of you to take the inspirations that you find in this meditation and then record them in your study notebook so that you can have these observations to review at a later time. I'm always so shocked when I read my old notebooks. It's a really fun part of our tradition. So, excuse me for one moment. We begin our journey by entering the park from Randall Avenue. The perimeter oleanders in full bloom. Our path leads us toward the Rosicrucian Research Library, where a row of papyrus and the buzz of a cicada offer us a warm welcome. Today, however, we have a different destination in mind. We plan to wander and attune ourselves to the Rose Garden at Rosicrucian Park. Our goal is to connect so profoundly with this place that we can meditate deeply on the mysteries of the rose. For now, take in deep, neutral breaths, inhaling and exhaling deeply through your nose. A beautiful pink rose bathes in the bright sunlight. Imagine that you are photosynthetic, feeling the warm sunlight rejuvenate your whole being. You are as relaxed as a cat on a sunny windowsill. The captivating red rose draws your attention, pulling you into its depths. What mysteries and secrets does it hold? Allow yourself to explore this rosebush, letting your senses guide you. Observe the myriad forms found on even a single rosebush. Full roses emerging, and buds that have just burst. A gentle breeze flows through your hair, relaxing you further. Let the roses guide you, revealing their stories and secrets. The perfume of the roses fills the garden, mixing with the scent of the redwood trees and the earthy smell of mulch. These fragrances flow into your nose and lungs, speaking to you in the language of plants. You are a welcome visitor, drawn to this place like a bee or a butterfly by the colors, textures, and scents. Allow yourself to find a peace that you haven't experienced in a long time. Rest here. An orange rose now, resembling the sun, captures your attention with its buds and blossoms and hips. Remember, each of these roses has an ancient lineage. They are part of a project that gardeners, rosarians, and Rosicrucians have been collaborating on for millennia. The intention that went into this single rose comes from hybrids created in royal gardens, transported along the dangerous Silk Road, preserved in times of hardship with cuttings carefully wrapped and tucked at the bottom of backpacks. These roses tell a story of immense collaboration between millions of humans over thousands of years. Now remember, the story doesn't even begin with humans. The genus Rosa has been on Earth for 35 million years. This is an evolutionary project, a project of deep change from the depths of time. A simple wild rose have struggled and grown all around the earth, evolving and thriving in various rugged, wild places. The nature of a rose is change and evolution. But with our collaboration, humans and roses, these roses have been able to express themselves in ways they never could or never would in the wild. Moreover, the beauty of the rose has guided us in our evolution and development. This relationship of mutual improvement is the hallmark of our bond, a positive feedback loop of beauty and harmony. We have a unique symbiosis with the rose. As you continue to breathe deeply and relax with each step, your eyes become heavy and you slow as you move from rose to rose like a honeybee, feasting on its nectar and pollen before flitting to the next. Your heart swells at the sight of new buds, announcing the next bloom. A rose garden in bloom all summer is something you will never take for granted again. These genes come to us from the imperial gardens of China, allowing us to enjoy roses all summer. A bright red rose catches your attention, and you feel a wave of incredible gratitude and appreciation for the masters, sages, philosophers, fratres and sorors, rosarians from all ages, who have filled the world with their wisdom and love so that we too may be wise and loving. In this place of peace, love, harmony, and wisdom, we shift deeper now, inward. I would now like to focus on our own personal unfoldment. If you'd like to sit comfortably, your feet flat on the floor, take 3 deep breaths, becoming more relaxed with each breath. Now that we have explored the rose garden in Rosicrucian Park and are feeling profoundly relaxed and attuned to these beautiful roses, I invite you to delve deeper, to experience your own unfolding. Rumi wrote, "What was said to the rose that made it open was said to me here in my chest." As Rosicrucians, we believe that the master within dwells within each of us. So today, let us ask the God of our hearts about our own unfolding, to be guided from bud to bloom to hip. Please join me in invocation. God of our hearts, God of our realization, may we be guided to experience that which was said to the rose, so that we may understand our own unfolding on the mystic's path to know ourselves and the divine. So mote it be. Now, visualize a rose seed in your hand, a single seed. Plant it in the ground or a beautiful pot and watch it quickly grow into a rose bush. Now, see a tiny bloom wrapped in fresh red leaves and give it your most ardent love. Encourage it with dreams of summer sun. Nurture it with water and nutrients. Protect it with your strength and care. Send as much love as you possibly can to this tiny dot of a rosebud. So small that it's hard to even see. Know that someday it will be a magnificent rose. But for today, it's a tiny little bud. You're welcome to focus on these photographs or to close your eyes and visualize this inside yourself. Watch it swell and grow with your love. Feel your heart opening. Feel that radiant love pour out of you and into this small little bud. And in this moment, a single sepal of the bud opens, revealing the deep color of this tiny rose. What color is it? What color is the rose that grows within you? Imagine it emerging like a tiny chick from its shell. Now feel your love grow even deeper and send thoughts of encouragement to the small, blooming rose. Send it dreams of summer sunsets, being tickled by bumblebees, the gentle sway of a summer wind. Imagine your rose bathed in divine light that causes its leaves to grow deep green, to be rejuvenated so that your rose may continue to bloom brightly. In the bright of day, admire your rose as it blooms. Watch it soak in the radiant sunshine. Feel yourself sending the brightest and most loving thoughts to this rose. And as it blooms, you feel so inspired. So much so that a positive feedback loop emerges. As your love makes this rose beautiful, so too does the beauty and harmony of the rose deepen your love. Feel this love and beauty grow within you. Now, watch as your rose grows to the absolute zenith of its bloom. Watch in awe at this remarkable moment of beauty and peace. Look with the purest and most ardent love at what dwells within you. Try and imagine the smell of this rose as its colors and scents fill your whole being with its essence. In this space, try to experience this rose blooming with all of your senses and on all levels. You look again, and now its color is so bright that it seems as if it is lit from some light source deep within. This light fills you with joy. Watch as the rose continues to bloom, bigger and brighter, the petals unfolding in a perfect sequence, like dancers in the most exquisitely choreographed dance. Each petal in its time unfolds, revealing more and more of the rose. Deeper and deeper you stare into the rose that blooms so bright, traveling to its very deepest depths. You feel a feeling of peace and serenity flow through you, flow through every atom of your whole being. You look deep into the rose, and ask it a question. And you feel the answer come to you as a profound knowing. make yourself as receptive as you can and allow that which makes the roses open flow into you, in your chest. In this place where roses bloom, we are beyond words, beyond what can be described in the material world. Try to understand this rose from a place beyond thought, beyond feelings. Only a deep, deep knowing that exists at the very core that is you. Sit with your rose and just know. Your rose continues to bloom, and now it begins to wane. You reach out gently to caress a petal, and you feel them fall into your hand. Rose petals fall like soft rain to the ground. And in this moment, admire the rose for what it is now. Petals gone, completely revealed, all mysteries unveiled. You feel deeply at peace with this change. You feel zero sense of lost because nothing is lost. This is how roses bloom. And now you look at the remains of your rose and realize that it still pulses with life. It begins to swell, stir deep inside. Puzzled, you watch it grow and see that it is now a rose hip full of seeds. The end is the beginning is the end, and you take the hip and open it gently. You feel its seeds fall into the palm of your hand, and you feel the power of the raw potentiality of those seeds. You hold these seeds in your hand, and you know that as you hold them, you too are held by the divine. You are a rose, unfolding perfectly. You will bloom again and again and again, brighter and brighter each time. You know that which was said to the rose because it was said to you here in your chest. Now, squeeze these seeds in your closed hand as a reminder of what was said to you today. Bring these seeds of light, life, and love back with you from this place and carry them wherever you go. Plant these seeds of peace in the world. I invite you to slowly, gently, like a petal in the wind, return to the material planes, to return from this place where roses bloom to your seat and your chair. And in this moment, whenever it feels right, record what you have learned, of what was said to you as prose or poem or illustration, however you might try to capture that which is ineffable. You all make such a beautiful rose garden, and I'm so deeply honored to bloom alongside all of you. I wish you all peace profound. Goodbye.